Okay, like I am live. Let's see how this sounds. I think I'm going to do a voice only after this on Spotify. Got some music going in my headphones. Turn my music off, my speakers. Happy Friday. I posted on Facebook. All right, there we go. Let's see. All right, happy Friday. The weather says that it's going to be in the 70s next week. I am thankful that I don't work out in the heat anymore, and I have a job that is strictly inside. So, what is one of the things that I wanted to talk about? When we look at um, our life, it doesn't matter where we start, and that's such a cliche thing, you know. It doesn't matter where you start; it's where you finish. But that is absolutely true, you know. And look at the things that we don't have control over. We don't have control over our name, our birthplace, our gender, the language we speak. Um, we don't have control over our parents or our family or our loved ones or anything like that. We have control over very few things when we are thrust into this world. And one of the things that I had a big problem with before was control. And giving up control for me is huge. I had to give up control because this life is not my own, and it wasn't meant for me to build my own palace, live in my own world, and serve myself at the cost of others, which is something that I was very good at before. And so to look at life and go, okay, that was not right. It put me in a very lonely place. And isolation was somewhere that, you know, I thought was okay. And that's not true. And so I had to realize that there was so much more to offer, and that there was so much more to achieve, and so much more to accomplish. Um, but the insides of me had to be um, cleansed, I guess. Here's my for a future guest, microphone number two. And at some point, you know, I truly believe that that will happen. R2D2. Um, when when I look at the things that I had no control over, I didn't even have control over my birth time, my birth date, location. You know, I didn't choose to be half Alaskan Native and half German. So we're thrust into this world that we have very little control over. But one thing that we do have is self control. How I choose to react to something or not react. Not reacting to something is equally as important as reacting. And I don't have to react. to everything. And that was a struggle for me before. It was when I was younger, I was a very lawyeristic person with my thoughts, my beliefs, and my views, and I was going to make sure that you knew about it. And I wasn't going to stop until you thought and believed and acted the same as me. You know, I I wanted to replicate myself, and I'm a very opinionated person, and so to put that aside and say, okay, well, that wasn't okay. It's a good thing to have a mind. I've got a pretty powerful, pretty capable, pretty functional, inquisitive, thought-provoking mind. I always have, and perhaps I always will. But I just have to learn how to channel that into a better way. And so I believe that that can happen. Um, it's something to look at your life with a certain level of self-awareness and say, okay, what can I do now? And at the age 40, like, that's a gift. A lot of people get to this point in life and they stay in a job that they might hate and work for the weekend. And, you know, we're taught to live for the golden years. Well, what if I don't make it to the golden years? What if that's not even the plan that is best for us? What if that is a lie? God says we're supposed to serve him until we go home to paradise forever. And so here in Arizona, I see these people in the town next over, a couple towns over, in Surprise and um, Sun City, Scottsdale, and sorry, my sinuses are going crazy. I think living here in the desert really, I feel like I need to have an air filter. And so, yeah, I'm a little out of it today. I was feeling weird yesterday, and it doesn't happen often that I feel off, but I felt off yesterday. I didn't want to let that stop me, so I texted my wife and I said, "Hey, I'm not feeling not sick, but I'm feeling off today." She goes, I understand. I feel it too." And so I'm glad to know that you know I have somebody that I can share that with. As an introvert, as somebody who lived a fiercely independent life before, being married is a massive change for me, and that is a gift. I have to look at so many things in this world as a gift, and even the struggles, even the hardships, those things are a gift. Um, and what can I do? I had to switch the way that I thought, the way that I feel, the way that I look at the world. A major transformation in my life had to happen. I was texting my wife. We work opposite schedules, and so we communicate a lot through text. Um, but hopefully and thankfully, I have tomorrow off, and you know, but of transparency, we're newlyweds. We're going on a year in April. We did premarital counseling, and we are going to do. Uh, we've gone to one session so far, and we're going to go to another one tomorrow. Um, At the beginning, I wanted to be offended because I did a lot of counseling in my life as a child growing up, and there's a lot of pain in there, And I was trying to tell Rose, you don't know what you're doing here. There's a big old sleeping bear in there that I had to really learn how to put to rest. And you know, sorry, I'm getting messages on my phone. Just put it away. Go away, phone. R2D2. You can guard the phone. Um, so I lost my train of thought. Let me drink some tea and see if I can get it back. Anyways, introspection. What looking at life, um, what can I think of when I do that? Independence. I was on Independence. And so, oh, marriage. Yeah, that's right. Marriage. I think I'm just free falling here, going on this journey. Just me. Grogu's not in here, so yeah, going from independent life of me, myself, and I, and realizing that I had done a majority of my life wrong. Not to say that I couldn't learn from many things. Of course, I can learn from everything. It wasn't all for naught. But see, this is a weird thing. I don't even know who I am anymore. Like I'm in the middle of this like cocoon shift, and I've never been this person. Like going to take Rose's kids, children, stepkids, it's like dentist appointments and stuff, and school shopping, and all these things. This is a gift, and it's a major change for all of us. And it's difficult. It's not easy because I don't always agree with Rose. I don't always agree with the kids. I don't even always agree with myself. I'm sad. I have one more honey lemon ginger tea left, and then I got to switch to a different flavor. But that's okay. It's not coffee, and I'm not getting jittery. So, having bonus kids, that is a change. And that is a change. So, I was adopted, right? And the family that I was adopted out of, I was born, I should have fetal alcohol syndrome. The fact that I don't, that is a blessing from God. The fact that I wasn't aborted, that is a gift from God. You know, hashtag pro life. I'm living, breathing evidence of pro life. I can't imagine the life of a mother who experienced something as terrible as rape, like my mother did. But um, I'm thankful to be alive. she's thankful that she had me even after adopting me. It was an open adoption, so I've always known um, both sides of my family. That way, I can know the native part of my culture and that life. Um, so, but the family I was born into and adopted into, I went from one life of chaos to another, you know, and there's divorce. You know, I visited my father in prison as a young child, so I was probably a preteen, maybe. I don't remember how long he was in there, but for a while. Um, Having to learn how to live a life of forgiveness with that, and confusion and shame and condemnation. So, loss of identity, So I'm the typical 80s child, latchkey kid, you know, I'm the youngest. And so by the time I was 10, I was pretty much on my own. So I had to learn how to wake myself up, feed myself, make sure I did my own homework. And, you know, I learned how to be fiercely independent, do my own laundry. And at that time, I didn't want to be alone or lonely. I was a pretty sociable kid. I was a class clown. And, um, that was a way of coping with what I went through. And I didn't realize it was going to have lifelong effects. And that, you know, it would kind of mold me into who I am now. And breaking out of that mold and being self aware, because I've been self aware my whole life. That's pretty interesting. um, but I don't regret any of it. Seattle, I was born in Alaska and raised in Alaska, but I spent my summers in Seattle with my two sisters. The oldest sister had her own place, and the other sister was, 6 years older than me. So a lot of memories in Seattle. And Seattle was my sanctuary. It was my getaway from Alaska. I didn't realize that, in that time that we spent in the summer with my sister, my mom would work more to save up money and provide for us for the summer. I just fell in love with baseball and big city life. And I remember having Papa Murphy's for the first time and watching, like Telemundo, Telenovela, Univision, and finding people that speak different languages and different foods and cultures. And it was just a cultural mecca. Still one of my favorite parts of Seattle is that it is an international place. And, that was my sanctuary. And I never wanted to go back to Alaska. I just wanted to be in Seattle forever. And there were multiple times that we would miss the plane. Um, so it was kind of like the summer getaways, baseball games, football games in the early September, whatever. Um, and so that was kind of like my earliest memory of happiness, getting away, experiencing new life and new places. And if I could interview myself at that time, I would say, "Hey, it's okay to feel how you feel, and it's okay to be how you are. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay. Never stop learning. Never stop growing. Never stop changing into something better." I dove deep into music, became a musician at a very young age. Music was just always a natural part of my existence. I picked up guitar by ear. All my music is by ear. I switched from guitar to bass, and I really, really greatly enjoyed that. Um, Played drums, piano, sing in choir, and I've thought, I had self awareness to the point of by the time I realized that I could have made this a profession, I had already been smoking weed and drinking a little bit in high school, and did some pills in middle school. Like there were times when I remember middle school, taking pills and drinking a big gulp of Dr. Pepper and mixing it with rum. Um, I don't know how I survived the school days sometimes, but I did. Um, but I didn't like how those pills made me feel. They were downers, so I didn't enjoy them. But I did like the alcohol, but not like crazy. I didn't go crazy with alcohol until I was older. I smoked a lot of weed from age 11 up. Uh, and so I guess this is getting to know Travis's past day. Yeah, this is healing for me. So even if I get no viewers, it doesn't matter. I'm getting this stuff out. And, I know that I'm not the only one that grew up this way. The 80s was a wild time, and there was a lot of things going on. I remember the news, and it was bring down the wall, watching the wall go down, and no new taxes, and Saturday Night Live, and Simpsons were exploding, and I remember so many things about that time. Um, and so I guess what you can call this part of my evolution is it's just me. The microphone for the second person will come later. Is to just relate to people. For being an introvert, a self-imposed introvert, because I really had to learn how to make myself enjoy the things that I like. Like I said before, music. I was an avid reader. Um, I really learned how to make myself happy with what I had around me, and that kind of stuck with me. Um, So going from a life of independence and learning how to be an introvert on the MBTI scale, I'm an INFJ, which is the rarest personality on the planet. Like less than 3% of the population makes up an INFJ, and males are even more rare than female. It's a 60-40 ratio of female to male. Uh, it is difficult to break out of my shell, but I don't look at INFJ and MBTI scale as defining who I am. I look at it as kind of like, okay, this is a parameter, but it doesn't fit me completely. Um, I can think about, well, what parts of my life am I aspiring for that don't fit that mold, that don't fit in that box, that don't aren't defined by that. I'm learning how to be more extroverted, and it's not that I can't be extroverted. When I'm in a sports arena watching 30,000 raging Red Sox fans anywhere across the country band together for one sport, I'm incredibly extroverted. Or when I'm teaching, or when I'm in front of a crowd of people and I'm being transparent, I'm extroverted then. But that expunges a lot of energy out of me. So then after that, I need some downtime, some time to kind of reset and bring it back to a zero level. Uh, and so to mask that need to be introverted, I drank and did a lot of drugs. my teen years till my mid 30s, until recently. It's gotten my sobriety has taken more of the front seat. And when I realized that all those things were designed to keep me from my true purpose, um, I had to realize that I was facing an external world with an internal need for healing, and I was looking to external solutions to my internal problem, not realizing that it had to come inside of me. Until I healed, nothing changed. Um, and so, and this process isn't even done. I'm at the beginning. It's just a starting point. And if at 40 I can do that, I'll take it. God has taken many people at age 40 and done a lot of his works with them at that point. So I'm an open book and I'm just saying, okay, let's go wherever we need to go. I lived my life for me for a long time now that I know God. I'm doing my best to live it for him. And even though I'm a chaplain now and I graduated with a degree, it's not defining who I am. It's like the MBTI personality thing. Like I'm not just an INFJ, like I'm not just a chaplain. I'm not even doing anything professionally to be a chaplain. I'm soaking in what I learned over the past 3 years into my life as best as I can and applying it to the people that are around me right now. And that's most importantly my family that I'm married into, and my son, even though he's away in Washington with his mother and his family, I'm still breaking out of my mold, and I've just barely come out of that cocoon and like I feel my butterfly, the wings haven't even like spread yet. It's just the beginning. And my expectations aren't to be instantaneous like it was before. I lived an instant life before. I need it and I need it yesterday. And I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen. So that's not right. Um, and in today's world, when you live in an instant world, Instagram, Instacart, you know, instant everything, TikToks, everything is so short attention span. I really believe that this ability to have patience for me is massively important and necessary. Um, and it's not just for me. I think we can all benefit from taking time to slow down and really look at the world from a step back point of view. Get outside of this vision, get outside of this vision and look at everything around. I am fairly conscious of how much this can keep you out of the real world. And that might be by design. So I'm a scatterbrain. I've got a million things going on up there all the time. And it is nice to be able to navigate my mind and try and align it with my heart and get some things to come together into a way that I can maximize and truly utilize every God-given gift that I was given for his purpose, for my purpose and my family and those around me. And that's not an easy thing to do. I've buried people that went half as hard as I did with drugs and alcohol, and they're dead now. Some of them are friends, some of them are family, but that is a part of life that I can't look at and go, it's not going to happen to me. That invincibility, I'm Batman, I'm never going to die part of me, that part is gone. Thank goodness. Um, yeah. And so I'm thankful that in this point in my life, I can kind of take the past 3 years that I've taken to go study and become a chaplain. And, last night I was listening to this podcast with Lex Friedman and this general from the army who went to Vietnam, and he's Japanese, and his parents are from Japan, mom's Korean, And he was saying, I was so shocked. I was not expecting this podcast, and I love it when it happens like that. But this podcast, um, he said, I grew up and God was a foundation of my life. I grew up in Chicago. We were It was a cultural mecca with all different kind of cultures. And he's like, I went to go study to be a chaplain, and rather than do like other people did and go to seminary afterwards, I joined the military. And he's only 5'4.5", and so he had to go get a medical waiver to be able to be allowed to join the military because the cutoff is 5'5". And when he went and saw his doctor's like thinking he's going to ask for a medical exemption. He's like, no, I want to get into the military. And how Christ-like is that for a Christian to just when the world wants to run away from something, I'm out of here. Christians are running in, and he's tiny, and he's you know multicultural, raised, and coming from a poor part of Chicago, the north side or whatever, I don't know. And he got in, and he's like, I wanted to do 20 years, but I ended up doing 32. And he's like, what he said about becoming a chaplain is like, I didn't want to just go to seminary and separate myself from the people that I'm designed to be living with in relationship with. And that spoke to me. I was laughing. I had my headphone in at work. At work, I'm allowed to have one headphone in, and I'm burning all the software on these computers. And I'm laughing. I'm going, man, that is so right up my alley. I mean, I've never joined the military, but I know military people. A lot of my family is military, so I'm familiar with that life. And I was just laughing because here I am this whole time I'm studying to be a chaplain. I'm like, man, I don't speak Christianese. I don't use the word season. I don't use the word, you know, program or ministry or, you know, all these things that you hear in corporate Western religion, Christianity. I don't speak that language, and I don't get along with people that do. I'm not here to serve the church building. It's just a place to gather. I'm here to do as Christ did. And I really got that from the Bible. The Bible taught me more about my faith with God than anything else. And it's got inside of me. And I remember reading the Bible early on and reading the book of Acts and going, hold on. What I'm reading in here is not out there in the world. And I rarely see anybody carrying this into a church building for service. And I see a lot more people going in there with this to look at the screen and do this. Well, that's not going to teach me how to go out and forgive somebody or to love somebody that's hard to love. That's not going to teach me how to be in relationship with God. That's going to teach me how to go like this and take pictures of the screen and then share it with other believers and go, oh, that was such a good message. And it was such a powerful. And it's like every Sunday, it's like we're given a tool and then it's like, here, I'll just get a literal tool. I don't have any tools. Okay. I guess I don't have a literal tool right next to me. Let's say I've been given this pen to write. Yeah. And instead of writing as a gift for non believers to see how God has worked in me, I'm going to another believer and I'm just saying, this is my pen. This is what God gave me. Look at how well I can write. And we can stay inside of this box. This pen will stay inside of this box forever. Just bam. Imagine that's the church building. Well, this pen was meant to be outside of the box. Let's say this pen is God. It's supposed to be out there in the world. Who needs even if you're never going to become a believer, that's none of my business. That's between you and God. It's not going to stop me from loving you, forgiving you, from giving you mercy, compassion, grace, patience, mercy, all these things that I needed. When I was an idiot and when I was unlovable, I needed these things. I needed somebody to come alongside me and say, Travis, I love you all the time. But when you're drunk and high, you're an idiot. We need to stop that or else you're going to die. And, oh, it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. Idiot, and I was a hard neck. Like, not me. Mm. Yes, it can happen to me. And so I don't want to be given a tool and just let it stay inside the box and never use the tool out in the world where it's needed. If I've been given the gift of writing with a pen and I can share my life and my relationship with God and people, the people that need it are not coming to church on Sundays. They're working on Sundays like I did. Like I chose to work on Sundays. I chose to work on holidays because you get paid more. Sundays are slow days. So, like, give me the easy day. Give me Thanksgiving. Holiday pay? Sign me up. I'm still going to go to the bar afterwards and get drunk. I'm still going to go do a bunch of dope, you know. And so the people that need the gifts that I've been given, they're in the world. And they're not all screwed up like I was, like with drugs and alcohol. You can be screwed up with anything. You can be screwed up with self image. You can be screwed up with identity crisis. You can be screwed up with abuse. You can be screwed up with neglect. You can be screwed up with things that you have no control over in your life. You just never know who you're going to meet in life. And when you take some time to get to know them, like the most impactful people in my life that I've met aren't perfect people. And they weren't given the best perfect situations. They were, you know, have disabilities or, you know, failed. A lot of people failed. Like there is power in failure. Without failure, we never truly learn how to grow. We don't come into this world learning how to walk immediately. We're the only mammal that doesn't walk within moments of birth. We have to strive for it. And so the most impactful people that I've met have disabilities or special needs. Or, you know, they have less than but that doesn't make them any less valuable as a human being. That doesn't make them any less necessary. It just means that they need to operate this world a little bit differently than we do. And the strength that is inside of them is tremendous. I didn't go into working with special needs and compassion ministries here in Phoenix expecting to be healed in the way that I did through people. And it wasn't a physical healing in my body, but God, in the only way that He can, took people that are physically less than in their physical body, and because of the love in their heart and their compassion, it helped heal me. And only God can do that. Nobody else can do that. And so you just never know where to expect God, where He's going to show up, and what He's going to do, and the people He's going to use. And so look at me. I was a family cast out black sheep. I ran with drugs and alcohol, and I was adopted. I burned my own bridges. But because God got a hold of me, He loves to use the weak to shame the wise, the foolish of the world to shame the wise. That's me. I have no doubt about that. And when God does whatever He's going to do with my life to help those around me, He will definitely get all the glory because it is not me, other than a willingness to say yes to Him. And a lot of the times, I don't want to say yes, but I do because I know that I have to trust in Him with faith, and I have to trust in Him with hope, and in things that I can't see, touch, taste, feel, it has nothing to do with my physical body. It has everything to do with my spirit and my heart. God has impacted me in my spirit and my heart more than anything else, in areas that I never expected. And with children and with old people, and just really cemented in to what we all need on this earth. If we look at the value of a family and a husband and a wife and children and our need for God, if it wasn't so valuable, twist that around. If it wasn't so valuable, it wouldn't be so attacked on every front. Believer or not, it doesn't matter. God loves all of us. We are all his children. That means Satan wants all of us. He doesn't care if you're Buddhist or Catholic or a monk or whatever, Christian. It doesn't matter. He just wants your soul. And so I never expected, and I just expected to go serve and get some internship hours for my college degree as a chaplain when I started helping with Compassion Ministries, and that's special needs, disabled physically and mentally people. But they have. And he showed up in a way that I just never envisioned because it wasn't how I thought and it wasn't how I operated. It wasn't what I knew. But that is the time in my life that I can't turn off. I can't turn away from. I don't ever want to forget, but it is necessary. You know, if you take some time and get to know the people around you in the world you live in, you'd be shocked to see how much we all have in common. The flavor might be orange, red, or blue, or green, and the color might be different, but deep down, we're all human beings. We all have red blood. We all have, you know, lungs, and hearts, and eyes. This doesn't diminish us. I believe that, when you look at a garden, what is the most beautiful aspect of a garden? The differences, different flowers in the garden. You got a red one over here, and it's this color. You got a purple one with yellow over there with that. They smell different. You know, I think it's amazing. And so, getting back to the going from the introvert to the extrovert, this is a part of that process for me. And I want to share that with the world and people and everyday people, everyday lives, with an everyday past and a hope for a future. And even if you don't have a hope for a future, say you're hopeless, you need love the most. So there was something that happened in the way that I pray when I started looking at the world through God's eyes and heart. When he showed me that Hitler was his son, when he showed me that Stalin was his son, Genghis Khan was his son, Hillary Clinton is a child of God. It changed how I pray. There's a lot of things going on in this world. There's evil. You don't got to watch the news. You just got to go outside. And so I didn't just only pray for the victims in a shooting. They need it. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. Now I pray for the shooter too and the families of those on both sides affected, and hope that there can be forgiveness and something that we can learn, something that we can apply, something that we can give rather than take. And it's not impossible. The best things in life don't aren't acquainted with money and things and possessions. The best things in life is what's inside of you and who you share it with, the good and the bad. I thought I had a good understanding of the gospel until I got married. Holy cow, getting married, you got to learn how to live the gospel every day with one person. And then I think about looking at like John 17, where Jesus talks about the most beautiful prayer, I think, in the entire book of the Bible, an impossible unity. He said it's a long chapter, but I invite you to go read John 17 and just read it. It is an amazing, amazing chapter. But he's speaking about unity between God, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, and every single human being on this earth. And to have all of that glory be one and have us all be interweaved with each other in unity and love. I believe in that. It doesn't make sense to this, but it makes sense to this. And until those things get united, what another level of self-awareness, I struggle with getting the people united in the house that I live in, with my family and our family outside of this house, extended family. But biblically, now that I'm married, it goes God, Rose, my wife. I love you, Rose. Uh, and then everybody else. God, me, my wife, and then everybody else. Well, look at what we can do. If God loves me and I love me, and this is biblical, and He says for me to love others the way that I love myself, that's possible because God is love, and He's supposed to live inside of me. And if I have love inside of me, and I love me, and I'm learning to do that now, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to love myself. And it is possible. Not only is it possible, it's necessary. Um, and so, music stop. Skip it. See if that works. Did the sound? Oh, it went to that. Okay. I know why. It's weird when I plug this into my phone, it thinks it's a USB-C headphone. Oh, yeah, I listen to EDM. People might be shocked, but I do. Okay, never mind. I'm getting close to being done though. Also, anyways, back to marriage and the biblical view of marriage. God is love, and how can I truly love anybody else if I don't have love inside of me from God? I can't. It's impossible. It's like trying to give water when the bottle's empty. So I just have to look at all that and go, there's a lot more relationship with God that I need to have than what I'm saying, or thinking, or believing, or realizing, or aware of. And this is a part of that for me, sharing it with all of you, whoever's out there. It might not be a whole lot, and that's fine. I've told God that even if I'm the only person standing in the room that's standing up for you and what you stand for and believe and love, then I'm going to do it. And it's worth it because at the end, it's only going to be me and God standing before each other. Judgment seat. Not to say I don't love you and everybody on this planet. I do. But it is my relationship with God that's most important. Because if I don't have a steady, strong relationship with Him first, I will never have a good relationship with people on this planet. And that's what I'm learning how to do desperately in this part of life. If you want to say in Christianese, in this season of my life, sorry, I still have sarcasm. I got to be careful not to judge the church. It is still God's church. So I repent, God. I repent. I don't want to be self-righteous. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. You want to learn about struggling with your own self? Read Romans 7. So it's 12. I'm going to log off and keep on doing what I'm doing. I'm going to eat some lunch. I'm a little hungry right now, and then go to work for a while. Love you all very deeply. I don't know who you are. I don't know what part of the world you're in, but you're not alone. Have a wonderful, loving Friday. I love you, Silas. I love you, Silas.